Jahi Tucker, good fighter. Been on Top Rank for a while, doing his thing. I've been knowing about Jahi Tucker for years. I might have made 1 or 2 videos about him in the past, but I haven't talked about him too much. But at 23 years old, and we'll go to screen share. At 23 years old, when you talk about Jahi Tucker, he's very much a guy that has packed a lot into his 17 fight career at the age of 23. Just going and looking at his resume. I mean, it's a very good resume. He lost a close fight to Nicholas Flaus 3 years ago. This run right here is crazy. He beat a very tough gatekeeper in Jose Luis Sanchez Guero, and I know very, very well about Jose Luis Sanchez. Albuquerque, New Mexico's very own Jose Luis Sanchez, very tough guy. He beat my boy Eric Tudor. He took his O, and Eric Tudor's career has never really been the same since. He beat him. That's a good win. Then he was matched up with one of Xander Zayas' sparring partners, Nikolai Shekniazuli, and he beat the brakes off him. And that was a very good win because Nikolai Shekniazuli, he's a strong Eastern European fighter, right? And he was, what's crazy? Jahi Tucker should have gotten the Xander fight, and Top Rank didn't want to do the fight. Peter Khan didn't want to do the fight, but he earned it. He beat Xander's freaking sparring partner, and he couldn't get the fight. And I remember Xander was doing interviews, and Xander was like, "Oh, he skated around the question a lot. He skated around the question a lot, and if there's one guy." And see, I like Xander Zayas, so I'm not gonna talk down on him, but I'm telling you guys the truth. If there was one guy you could accuse Xander maybe ducking, it would probably be Jahi Tucker, because Jahi Tucker was in a position to fight him. They are both prospects. They was both on Top Rank. He beat up Xander's sparring partner. He called Xander out. Xander didn't really seem too keen to the idea. That's the only guy though. But anyway, so then he loses to Nicholas Flaus right after that, right? And then they don't do him no favors. They matched him up with Francisco Daniel Veron, who's a tough Argentinian fighter, who's to this day Francisco Veron is 16-1-1. You see, he's beaten Vladimir Hernandez. He's beaten Romain Villa himself. He beat Timur Karavov, who was a good fighter. Veron. So Veron's actually an underrated fighter, and Tucker had a draw with him on the Espinoza Basie Ramirez 1 undercard. I was there. He beat Quincy Lavales, who also is a good fighter. Solid gatekeeper type fighter. He beat the Trojan, Troy Williamson, another fringe contender. And then he beat Lorenzo Truck Simpson, a guy who's had a bunch of hype for a lot of years. So I say all that, and I set the stage to say that Jahi Tucker is a good fighter. And I want to give him his flowers for the tough fights he has taken and for the tough fights he won. Because I'll tell you this, he has not had an easy road at all. This is a gauntlet of fights to have this damn early in your career, back to back to back. And that's why he's so confident. That's why you see him talking shit, because he's fought really good fighters at an early stage of his career, and iron sharpens iron. So I say all that to say this and set the stage to say this. So Jahi Tucker was ordered to fight, or I guess he was offered to fight Yoenli Hernandez, the big, strong Cuban middleweight that a lot of people are like in love with. Now, what I'll say is this. I think Yoenli Hernandez is a good fighter. I like Yoenli Hernandez. But honestly, he's one of them guys, and I feel like people feel. I feel like the way that I feel about Yoenli Hernandez is the way that boxing fans feel when I talk about certain Japanese fighters. And I feel like every boxing fan is like this, where there's just certain fighters that people in the boxing community rally around that aren't big names, like the boxing hipster pick, if you will. And for me, this is the one guy that when I hear people talk about how he's this and he's that, I'm like, you guys are doing too much. He's a good fighter. He's explosive. He did beat Kyron Davis, so I'll give him that. But he ain't really fought no one. His second best winner after Kyron Davis is fucking Bryce Henry, who's from South Florida, who's a decent little fighter, but like that's not anything. Like the way he gets talked about, your second best win should be Bryce Henry, right? So anyway, Jahi Tucker, Yoenli Hernandez. I think that's a very good fight. This is a fight where if Yoenli Hernandez were to get it and dominate and win, now we're talking. Now you're getting me to believe in Yoenli Hernandez, right? But I gotta wag my finger at Jahi Tucker. I got to. I gotta wag my finger at him because we're in a climate in boxing right now where Top Rank can't even afford a ham sandwich. They can't even afford to keep the lights on. They can't even go to the grocery store and buy them a pack of Marlboros and you know, they can't do nothing. They don't have no network right now, right? So that being said, you got Jahi Tucker on Instagram tagging Yoenli Hernandez and he said, stop being cheap, send the real bag, let's get the fans what they want, 500,000 to see my face. So essentially what Jahi Tucker is saying is that he wants 500 grand to fight Yoenli Hernandez. Now, I'm not going to question Jahi Tucker as far as his willingness to fight people because, again, I just went through the resume. This is not an easy road. So I want to give him his just due for the tough opponents he has fought, for the career he has had, because a lot of fighters aren't taking these kind of fights this early in their career, and he deserves credit for how he's performed under these circumstances. 17 fights into his career. But, man, I got to call a spade a spade. In this scenario, bro, Yoenli Hernandez is not no $500,000 fight for both you guys combined, let alone for you, Jahi. So my thing is this. It's a negotiation, so you can throw a high number and meet in the middle. I get it. But if you're dead serious about wanting that 500K to fight Yoenli Hernandez, then I got to call a spade a spade. You're ducking him. You don't want to fight him. And you're making people who feel like he's this boogeyman, you're giving him confidence to feel that way, and it's pissing me off because, like, he's a good fighter. I think he's got a lot of skill and ability, but I just the way people talk about him, it's pissing me off because he's not on. He hasn't fought anyone yet. He fought Conor Davis, he fought one guy, he fought Conor Davis, right, which is a very good win to have. But like, you making this guy look like he's the scariest person in the world, and you guys hate when Bakr Murtazaliev and Subra Matias and Philip Hergovich and these guys that fighters don't want to fight, and because of the boogeyman, you hate when it happens. But if Jahi Tucker is asking for 500K to fight Yoenli Hernandez, it's gonna get to a point now where you're gonna have promoters. They're gonna start promoting this guy right here as the boogeyman, and I'm really not trying to hear all that. You got middleweight. It's a division that's very thin, right? So I think at some point Yoenli Hernandez is going to be a world champion because the division is that damn bad. You know, if you're even an above average fighter at middleweight, you're going to have a chance to be champion in the next year because it's that terrible. But absolutely unrealistic. It's unrealistic, and this is why Zuffa boxing exists, because you got guys like Jahi Tucker who, yes, very good fighter. Maybe hasn't had the easiest road and has had to take tough fights and earn everything in his career, but he's being unrealistic. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, 500K. You got guys who are world champions that don't make 500K, and you're gonna get 500K to fight a guy you're gonna get 500K to fight a guy who doesn't speak English. Like, Yoenli Hernandez doesn't speak English, and the only people that know Yoenli Hernandez are just the degenerate boxing fans. Like, that's not a 500K fight together, let alone just for Jahi. So I like him. I respect what he's done in the sport, but that's a duck. That's a duck. I'm calling a spade a spade.